everyone, and welcome to The Courageous Survivor. And I am excited to be back. I have a whole new chapter of the courageous journey that I'm stepping out of, and one chapter and stepping into another. It is December 30th, and 2025 has been a year of awakening for me. It has been a year of self-reflection, and a lot of healing in all avenues. And so in this whole self-reflection, I feel very led and called to walk into 2026 sharing this journey. And I'm in this place where I'm just kind of gently returning back to my podcast and stuff. Um, and it's just one of those things where um, I didn't step back because something was wrong. I stepped back to really work on myself and do some reflection because something felt unclear and unfinished in my healing. And I won't be able to do anybody any good if I can't come from a healthy, rational brain. And even as I've been preparing for this return, my body has reminded me that I still need honesty with myself and I still need to pace myself. I have worked very hard to come up with a sustainable plan of how I'm going to bring this. And this first podcast will really open up why I'm returning and kind of bring everything together in this very complicated intersection of dealing with, prolonged trauma, brain injury, and just all of these things that go together with the near fatal strangulation and just the very dangerous intersections, complicated intersections that so many men and women and children face, that the medical and multiple other systems set us up for failure. And this first podcast will kind of highlight just some different pieces of why I'm deciding to step back into this. So, um, I want to talk about like kind of why I've been quiet. Um, I've been really working on like kind of maintaining my plans, the things that I was doing, because I have to live a very regulated, um, just a very different life than most people. I get made fun of a lot of times from people that know me, um, because I focus very much on protecting my sleep. I am a like clockwork, wake up at 4 a.m. and bed by 7. And you can very much tell when I don't get to keep that. My body is automated to do that. I don't need alarms. And I am like a toddler when it gets to be about 8 p.m. and who needs a nap when I am tired. And so I've been working on eating consistently and very intentionally. Um, and like this healing journey isn't always about breakthroughs. This last year has truly been about maintenance and restraint. Like I have done fasting, I have stopped, I did a sugar fast, I've done all these different things trying to figure out these things, these missing pieces, something that I felt was very off. So I'll tell you, I had, so in the midst of this missing piece, I had some labs drawn recently from the Health Institute. Um, and basically, in a nutshell, I started feeling like because I'm doing everything right. I have been doing everything right. I've been prioritizing my sleep. I've been prioritizing rest, reducing my stress, doing nervous system cares, doing these resets of the feel good chemicals. I just felt very solid. Um, and really, I've been working this last year on like not being stuck, but stabilizing. And so I started having this last, I don't know, 6 months, but especially the last like 2 to 3 months, I have noticed a lot more brain fog returning. I'm starting to have the sensory overload again. I'm not solid on my feet. Um, in the back of the squat and in when like when I'm exercising and I'll have fatigue despite having 8 and 9 hours of sleep. And so this was really hard for me because I don't understand. Like I it's a pattern. This has become truly about being a pattern for me. I go out to see the docs at the Neural Connection. I get, some rehab and I feel 100%. And then I come back and then it's like over a year and a half, by the end of 2 years, I start feeling like I'm back to where I was. And that's where I'm at kind of right now. Matter of fact, so these labs that I had drawn, I don't know, it's probably been about 2 months ago, and I finally just got to be able to talk to the people and kind of go through and what it looks like. And basically, I got answers, but it wasn't what I was expecting. But now it makes sense as to why I have this pattern that I've had since 2019. Um, and to be perfectly, you know, honest and transparent, where I am right now. So my first visit to functional neurology was in June of 2019. As of this moment, on December 30th, I probably feel the worst brain wise, like just brain wise, that I have felt since being out there in June of 2019. And so this is new territory for me. But so I had these labs, and they're not labs that a regular doctor will order. But basically, without getting in deep, because I had never even heard of these, but this is what it was showing. And again, I ordered these not because I was panicked about how I feel. I know um, that I can go out to my functional neurology doctor and get feeling good again. I just, it was, so it's not out of panic, it's out of these patterns that I'm recognizing. And so what I'm learning by the labs is that I have inflammatory vascular stress. I have neurovascular inflammation, and I have a low reserve capacity. In a nutshell, that's what those three things are. I'm going to be doing 2 episodes a week. One, which is going to be this first one starting off, is kind of basically for me to talk about like what's going on and that type of stuff. And then the second one in the week will be about the education piece about that. And so I'm just touching upon these labs. So these labs were drawn before I started really feeling bad. So that means that being ill didn't cause these findings. So in the last, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, I transported a COVID positive patient with a fever. I did not know that they had COVID, and that's not at all what we were called for. And so I was exposed and I ended up sick. I did not test, but I became very ill over the next, I don't know, 7, 8 days. And I can't remember the last time I had a headache. I mean, probably it's probably been a couple of years. And it started off with a headache. And I have had this generalized headache. I had to take some Motrin for the first time that I have not taken I in years. I mean, my Motrin that I had expired in 2023, if that gives you any clue. how rare I use it. Um, and so these labs, like, they're not saying that I failed. Like all of my work, it's not saying that I failed. What it did show me, which I didn't understand this, and you hear people talk about it on social media, but now it's like now there's a lab value to explain this to me, is that my body has truly adapted to years of living in survival mode, of living in fight or flight. Um, and that was rough for me. And since I have been sick, so those labs were again drawn after I was or before I was sick. So now it's like I've had this like viral illness of whatever you call it. And so now I'm even feeling worse. So I'm kind of glad I got those drawn. But again, this wasn't about me doing something wrong. It's about that something was incomplete. And so I want to talk about this piece because and this is why I've decided to be very present over this next year and really kind of just open up my life in my healing journey, is because one of the things that people have repetitively talked to me about as I've spoken, share my journey, is how functional medicine and holistic care isn't realistic for people because it's expensive. Well, let me tell you, um, the place that I had these labs drawn have a program to help me dial these in of basically all of this stuff that I have going on in my head. Because there's a lot of inflammation, there's a lot of like vascular stuff. And the part of this that gets very scary is these things are super important for me to dial in. And so this program that they um, were going to give me cost $8,500. I can't afford that. I'm a paramedic who makes like, in just full transparency, I make my base is 20, like 23 and some change. Um and so like I can't afford that. I have had to use up all of my savings recovering through all of this stuff. And so it really hit it to me in talking to the person about the root of this survival mode and everything, that like truly in 2006, in June of 2006, when I was had a near fatal strangulation in a domestic, in what my living in child abuse, I really did receive life sentences. And it's very frustrating because what these labs say to me and put me at risk for is cognitive decline, vascular dementia, stroke, puts me at high risk of stroke, and accelerated brain aging. Then this viral illness that has happened since I had those labs drawn basically can temporarily worsen those symptoms. But at the end of the day, the chronic inflammation and vascular stress are my baseline issue. Well, how do I fix that? I absolutely cannot afford $8,500. However, I have to really step back. And although I can't afford it to pay for it, I also can't afford to not address it, because my mom has dementia. My mom's brain is not healthy, but her body is healthy. And so I know what it costs to have her in a memory care unit. I know all the cost that it is. Like, if I don't address this now, my loved ones will have to deal with that later. And I don't want to be that person who had the ability but didn't have the desire to not do that to my son, to not do that to my loved ones. And I just don't want to live like that. I it breaks my heart sometimes seeing my mom know that she like her memory stuff, and I just don't want to do that. Um, so really, when you look at the emotional, logistical, and financial cost of what's to come for future me, I really can't afford to not deal with this now. And so what does that look like for people? And what does that look like for me right now? I don't have the funds. So this isn't about a fear-based conversation. This is an informed and rational conversation that I have to have. So, um, I know strokes cost and different stuff like that. So it's like I have real financial limits, but not dealing with this now um, can cause devastating cost later. So I'm going to do this. So my decision after a lot of conversations, a lot of research, a lot of speaking to Dr. Hennis out at the Neural Connection again, I'm choosing a middle ground. And this was hard for me, realistically. Because what this looks like is um, I've researched these labs. I've researched, what they mean, what they are. I have recently, um, through Dr. Hennig in the neurology center, um, I did a I'm sorry, a Dutch plus. We're waiting on those results to come back. That looks just kind of at a lot of hormones and stuff like that. So once that comes back, I'm going to work with Dr. Hennis. As of right now, I'm planning on going back out to see him for treatment the first week of March. Um, Now, that is all. This is all very moving. Um, One, I'm going to have to save up some money to go out there and on top of everything else. But the biggest thing is it's not going to do me any good to go out there and kind of rehab my brain when my brain is overloaded with all this inflammation. So I'm having to change. I have been a well-oiled machine for a few years. I eat at the same time, I fast, I do all these things, and everything that I have thought I was doing right to heal my gut and heal these other things, now I have to turn around and switch because now the target is the brain, the inflammation in the brain, and getting my body out of this very high survival mode that I've lived in. So there's going to be some really difficult conversations. Like I have been wearing a continuous glucose monitor for about, I don't know, 7, 8 months now. And this is kind of one of those things that I started researching myself. I talked to Dr. Hennis about it, and I'm not understanding. I'm having rebound hypoglycemia. I'm going on these EMS runs, and even though I've fasted and I'm on like a 14-hour fast, my sugar is spiking up to 140, 150, and and it's staying up. And so all of this stuff is all this, connected to this fight or flight and survival mode that I've been living in. So what I've decided is, okay, I'm going to document what this looks like and address this in my addressing this um, in the budget that I can afford without luxury medicine. I'm going to be transparent about the cost, my choices, the trade-offs, share what helps, what doesn't, and what's realistic. That's for me. This is not medical advice. This is my journey. This is my courageous journey. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I don't think people understand how many women are out there that are stuck in this feeling of having all these medical and mental health problems and not understanding like I'm doing everything right. I'm taking medicine, but I still feel this way. And being basically gaslit by the medical system into thinking that they're crazy because that's where I was. I mean, to the point where I was suicidal because I thought something was wrong with me, that I was doing this to myself. No, this is years of abuse. And this is 2006. That was my life sentence. And so this illness has, this period in my life has reminded me that resilience isn't infinite. And we need to start having conversations about pacing and prevention, and why honesty about our prior experiences, about our trauma, about abuse that we've endured and stuff like that actually matters, and why we need to have these conversations. Because, people tell me all the time, well, I can't afford that care. Um, yeah, either can I. But I'm going to talk about like how the things that I'm going to do to make the funds available, and what that looks like. Um, and I'm not promising that we're going to find answers. I'm going to have conversations about what it looks like when my labs come in from my Dutch panel, what this looks like. I'm going to be sharing my rehab, these things that I'm doing. I'm in my little like office room right now, and I have there's like tons of stuff in here for my rehab. I have a Gibbons board, I have blaze pods, I have a vibration plate, I actually have a sauna pod here. I have all of these things that I've been buying, setting myself up for me doing my own neural rehab at home so that I can prime to hopefully get to where I left, close to where I left um, Dr. Hennis the last time, and see if he finds anything new. That's one of the great things about going to functional medicine. Yeah, it's more expensive, but man, the value of the education that you get. You learn so much about your body and things that should and shouldn't happen. So the plan is when my labs come back, I'm going to be meeting with Dr. Hennis every 2 weeks to kind of just check in, um, because paying him his, hourly fee or whatever is cheap. He knows me. I know what they do works. If I have to go out there for a whole nother week intensive, then that's what it is. Um, so I don't know. I really don't know what this looks like. But the reason why I decided to be very transparent and come on here and kind of document this journey through 2026 is this. This is what it looks like. I don't want to say the worst, because I probably still feel better than most people. I just know that I am not 100% clear. Like, I don't think I could hop on one foot and count down from 100, from 100 by threes and stuff that I normally can do. I'm not thinking very clearly. I've got a dull headache. I never feel like that. I have aches and pains. Like, I don't ever feel anything other than amazing. And I want to feel that again. And it's been that way for solid things. So something's going on. And so I'm going to share this and what this looks like through this journey. Um, Episode 2 this week will kind of really talk in about what this looks like. Like, how did I get here? Why are these labs? So what were the labs? Why they're high? What does chronic stress actually do to the body, and how that showed up in my labs? So it's going to be more of the education piece of what's going on. And that will kind of be a weekly thing. On my social medias, my Facebook, there'll be a little bit more longer posts talking about stuff, more like a blog style. Everything will be on my YouTube. And then I'm going to show little things on my Instagram and my TikTok from me doing exercises and the little things that I do. You should see some of the food that I have to eat. And now I'm having to eat more, and I'm having to eat more food, um, because I've had to change up all of these things that I have to eat. I'm having to eat a lot more protein, which I don't really like, and having to eat, just all these things. Um, so I don't think people, I don't think people have any idea how hard I work to be where I am. And I think that it is time for people to see what that looks like, because I have a lot of people who talk a lot of smack and talk very degradingly to me. And people who say I don't deserve to be out there sharing my story and I'm just, dramatic and looking for these things. This is what I have to say. I work hard. Again, I got a life sentence. One got not convicted at all, and the other one got a mere fine. The man who put his hands around my throat and caused this brain injury, who broke my blood-brain barrier, who did those things, um, you know, he got himself probation and a fine. And again, I got a life sentence, a lot of medical debt, and potentially something that can be catastrophic to me. I potentially could die 40 years after the event from what he did to me. And so I think that I'm doing this not just for the survivors out there who feel very stuck. Um, I'm sharing it because there needs to be some conversations with medical providers, with law enforcement, with EMS. Look, this next year is about dialing in the missing pieces together. I'm not trying to promise answers. I'm just committing to honesty and transparency. This isn't a comeback. This is just a continuation of my journey, and I'm not trying to outrun my future right now. I'm trying to change it. I don't want to be where my mom is, and that's the way it is, And there's some real hard conversations to have, and I'm going to have them openly. Is EMS causes constant stress. Is it time for me to truly give it up? Something that I fought so hard to get back. Is it time for me to give that up? It's going to be this conversation I'm going to be having with Dr. Hennis. Does it cause me more harm? Does, as a 52-year-old now, does the 62-year-old me need the 52-year-old me to hand that over? Lots of conversations, and I want to be very transparent about them, because these are the things that survivors all over the world are facing and not realizing the root cause. And I just want to be able to open up conversations. So thank you all for listening. I look forward to sharing this courageous journey and really just being able to start from fresh and kind of bring people along on this journey, and have the difficult conversations. It feels good to be in a place where I have thought, prayed, handed it over to God, and He has said, yes, I need you to do this. And this is the purpose. I've had some of, the best doctors in the country tell me that I shouldn't be alive. And maybe this is why. Thank you. You have a wonderful day and Happy New Year.